Really got to try on that left-hand side. What happened?
Oh, but I've gone up and over and bloody head over biscuit. It wasn't enough stability there for myself, but no, I was busting for a bit to make this game, but didn't seem to work out.
Hello, cheers, and welcome to the Scrum of the Earth podcast, the weekly show for news, reviews, and so much more, all about the world of rugby. As always, my name is David Lawrence. I'm an American rugby fan. Follows the game wherever I can find it, all over the globe. If you'd like to get in touch, I'm easy to find on Blue Sky, and you can always just drop an email to thescrumoftheearth@gmail.com. Well, this is the first part of what I'm calling the Quad Pod. We've found ourselves with a bit of extra time on our hands at the moment, so we're putting together 4 separate podcasts between now and Tuesday. We're starting here with a bonus ep. I can't wait to introduce our very special guest. Then we'll be doing a weekly recap of the URC, the PWR, and the return of Major League Rugby. After that, we'll do a Super Rugby sort of review for the opening round in the Southern Hemisphere. And then finally on Tuesday, it's another very special guest with the return of Dallin Stanford to discuss the HSB 7s, among other things. But, as I said, this is in fact yet another bonus episode. I am absolutely thrilled to announce the return of the voice of the top 14 and, frankly, a hell of a guy. It's the inimitable, the one and the only Robbie Nock. Robbie, my good sir, it's been too long. How the heck are you?
I'm very well, thanks, David. Thank you for having me on the show. It's super good. Yeah, it's 2025. I think that we're less than 2 years away from the next Rugby World Cup. So I mean, you count down the days. It is crazy, and it's super exciting at the same time. And I think that sort of rugby's going to be coming your way, sooner rather than later. So you got to keep that in the back of your mind, which is very exciting. To head across the pond and and be with you guys for such a massive event. So I'm doing good.
Isn't it funny? The day after the World Cup ends, it feels like it's going to be forever, and every day after that, it seems like it's right around the corner.
Well, we do have a lot of rugby to sort of take up the calendar year.
Yes.
Wherever we are in the world, with qualifying matches or top 14 or the Six Nations or autumn test matches, European rugby, all over stateside as well, and the sevens or whatever. There's so much going on. So I mean, I think that you start to chomp, through it, and then you just turn around and go, wait there a minute, we've got a Rugby World Cup that's just around the corner. That is super exciting, and and it's not too far away. So happy days.
Well, the last time we spoke, you were getting ready for a trip to, I'm pretty sure it was Wisconsin, of all places. Every time we talk, you surprise me with one of the many destinations where you end up. Any interesting trips since we last talked?
Yeah, I went to Uzbekistan.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody's a wonderful
Obviously,
holiday destination.
Wisconsin, Uzbekistan, tracking bears, and what was it, the Dakotas? Those things all go together.
Listen, I went to Uzbekistan for for some work. I had a little look around. It was interesting. There are snow leopards up in the mountains, above Tashkent. Mm-hmm. I didn't get to see any. I would have loved to have spent 4 days trying to track them down, but it wasn't the case. Didn't get the time. I was literally working. But I mean, it was interesting because you get to see, different cultures. The connections that they have with other countries, Russia, for example, for Uzbekistan, and they're very, very nice and kind people. So to all of our Uzbeki friends out of there, we salute you guys.
We might have just upped our Uzbeki listenership by 1,000%
yes.
or so.
Bring it on, come on, send David the emails, and I'm sure that rugby will be a big sport in your beautiful country in years to come.
Well, you're someone who loves to travel, if I gather that correctly, and you found a line of work where that's often incorporated into it. How much are you loving life these days? Like, it feels like you've kind of figured it out.
Well, I mean, it's you've got to get the right balance. You've got to get the right balance in terms of not spending too much time out of the house. If you've got a family, if you're single, do as much as you want. I mean, that's basically what you can do. Different scenario for me. I've got a young boy of 8 years old, so I mean, I want to make sure that I spend time with him, and and that's important. And you want to teach them some of the stuff that you've actually done in the past, and where you're going, and try and take them with them, go with them, take them along at the same time. So it's just finding the right balance. But no, I spend at least 3 or 4 months away from home, on the road, working on very interesting projects. So I'm happy.
I didn't know you had an eight-year-old boy. That's great. Me too. We were just outside shoveling from the latest massive crippling blizzard that we've got here outside of Boston. So much
Listen,
fun.
yeah, the ice vortex. It's quite every year. I get the impression, but I mean, at least there's a winter. I mean, it's good to know that winter actually
Yeah.
exists. Four
And
seasons are always good.
My secret weapon is having a partner from Texas who still hasn't gotten sick of shoveling yet.
Fantastic. See, the thing is, your partner from Texas obviously didn't shovel enough in the younger years, so
Exactly.
they're
She
coming
still
into
thinks it's
this
kinda
like
cool.
sort of second part of life is going to be shoveling is fun. Shoveling is great fun.
Well, I love it, and this is my awkward segue. Speaking of love, I have been loving the top 14 this season. The ups and the downs, the incredible upsets, the dazzling play. On a scale of Jean-Baptiste Gros to Matthew Jalabert, how good has the top 14 been for you this year?
Whoa. I mean, I just get surprised every season just how good it is. I think that French rugby is so healthy at the moment. We know where Antoine Dupont has lifted, not just him, but he obviously is one of the flag bearers for French rugby, and he's lifted France into the high echelons of respect in world rugby. And I think that obviously helps and generates a real positive knock-on effect. Loving the top 14, loving what's happening in the top 14. I love the turnaround and the shake-ups and the teams that manage to get themselves in the top 6, and the shocking results of some teams who find themselves at the other end, and then teams that you just don't expect to actually sort of be knocking on the door of the playoffs.
Yeah.
We're not too far away from the end of the season, but we're not there yet. So there's so many different. I think Stuart Lancaster, before he got sort of ousted from his seat, replaced by Patrice Collazo, just literally over a week ago, he was saying, no, we've got there's 10 games left, which means maximum of 50 points. And that basically puts it into perspective, because there's not one team that's up on 50 points already. So you understand, that so much can happen. But, you're not going to get those victories on the road sometimes when you're traveling to Bordeaux or Toulouse, La Rochelle, etc. It's going to be complicated, but the home victories. So, it's a little bit of, he's dreaming a little bit, but there's reality to it, in terms of...
No, that's a great way to put it. I love that. Any standout moments from you for this, this year for games that you were calling? There's been so many. You must have the list of amazing highlights for you must be a mile long.
Yeah, I think that Van beating La Rochelle in La Rochelle really was a magical moment, because I think that when you actually look at sorry, I got the disco lights going in the background as I prepare for
mood.
You're talking about love. We've got I got Clermont Toulouse a little bit later in the studio, so
Yes,
obviously
indeed.
but no, it's I love that game, because it basically that's French rugby for you. I think that when you go from the top 14 and you just look at the teams going all the way down to the Pro D2 and Federal 1, you've got former French champions. So I mean, for us to have a team that's never played in the top 14 and a team that's managed to beat the two-time European champions is fabulous, and they're neighbors, and they work together with as a feeder club for La Rochelle before they moved into the top 14. So you can understand that that makes it even more sexy as in terms of a result that saw them win. So that stands out from the crowd. Besides that, I think that I think maybe Bordeaux beating Toulouse, was always really special, because everybody says, Toulouse, they're unbeatable, but Bordeaux beating Toulouse in Toulouse was something unique as well.
It's incredible how you teed that up for me, considering my script here. We, of course, as you've already mentioned, we had a new entry into the top 14 this season, as with most seasons. This year we've got Vaughan. They started well. I was impressed at the beginning of the year. They've kind of fallen to where I kind of expected them to be. Is this just the circle of life in French rugby?
It's such a difficult status to have when you are promoted for the first time. It's not just for the teams, for the first time, but when you've been promoted from Pro D2 into Top Cat Tours, I think that status is very, very complicated, because once you get up there, you've got to survive, and surviving means winning at home. Winning all of your matches at home, and they haven't managed to do that. I think they've lost something like 4 or 5 at home, and it's complicated. And there are teams, of course, that that will come there. They'll bring a big team because they know that it's a team that don't have the experience. It's the first ever team from Brittany to play in the Top Cat Tours, that wonderful West Coast region you've got sensational coastline. I mean, it's a little bit like Oregon, if you like, for all of our, American viewers. You've got rugged coastline. You've got people who love boats. You've got, fishermen. You've got, Middle Earth, if you go a little bit sort of inland. I'm not saying, the people, looking a little bit like those trolls.
I get it.
I'm a Welshman, so, I'm familiar with this. And it's Celtic territory, it's sacred territory for me, and, and my brother lives up there, and, I know it really well. And I can, it makes me so happy to see Van come up and sort of fight for their lives, because it is all about fighting spirit. You've got that mentality where you will try and, get the win. You'll all come together and fight for yourselves, and they work as a family. They played the bagpipes up there, and they play Land of Your Father, in Breton, which is their version. The Welsh national anthem, the same song. It's super unique, and they're quiet. I mean, you couldn't hear a pin drop, as the kickers tee up there, and get ready to kick the penalties and the conversions.
Well, what's gone well for Van this year? Like, if you were a Van fan, what kinds of positives would you be pointing to right now and saying, yes, this is progress?
So I think their scrum is good. They've got Vunipola. They've got some guys who work really hard together. They know that it's all about it's all about the simplicity of rugby. I think you've got to really get down to the basics and get it right. So your scrum and your lineouts. The scrums have been solid. I like the way that they've been very smart, and John Noel Spitz has been intelligent in his recruitment, and he's brought in players who will actually come together and they'll understand exactly how they work, as one unit. You can't have egos in a team that's coming up into the Top Cat Tours from Pro D2. You won't probably get big names because they'll already have been acquired by other teams, and that's what makes it complicated as well, because you don't know that you're going to, go up into the Top Cat Tours until the latter stages and the playoffs, etc. So it's late, and that basically means that you've got to really, get it right. The scrum has been solid. Michael Ruru has been incredible at 9, and Maxime Lefebvre as well. He's been kicking really well, the fly half. They've got 2 good players there, and I think that sort of what they achieve there is making sure that they get the basics right. Love the support, at the Stade de la Rabine. They really get behind the players. And there's my chair that's gone down, so I'm just coming back up.
It's a great spectacle.
And it's just super unique. They're working really hard to just get themselves the wins. They fight for every single point. They've been so unlucky, getting to the 70th minute, losing 2 or 3 games, at the wire where they've been in control and in command. They haven't got that experience yet, and it's working, together and not having injuries so that they can, get to that important part of the season where maybe, just maybe, they'll haul themselves up into the 12th position and they'll stay away from relegation. Especially with teams like Racing and Stade
There's still 50
Francais.
points on offer. It's possible.
The big 5-0.
Well, once again, it's like you're reading my mind over here, because you just heated up again. I was just peeking at the table before we started this little call, and you just started to say it. Don't look now. Quelle horreur! Both Parisian teams, 12th and 13th, they're both in danger of that game that I love, but everyone must fear, where the 13th team has to play the also Rans from the Pro D2. I don't think Stade or Racing are in danger of losing a game like that. On the other hand, I never would have said they were going to be 12th and 13th after 16 rounds. Is this unprecedented territory for the capital clubs?
No, I just Stade Francais. Racing, yes, they haven't been down since they climbed up into the top 14. And I think, if I'm right, around about 2008, I think Racing have been up in the top 14 under Pierre Bebezier and Simon Mannix. I think that Stade Francais have been the team that have really suffered over time, and they don't get it right. I don't know what's wrong with that club, but there's something that's toxic that prevents them from getting the right results. Gonzalo Casado was good with them. They managed to win the title, just a decade ago, and I think that's sort of it's they have their ups and downs. I don't understand that club. I really don't.
It's very
sometimes they they play well. They hit back after a bad season, or they have two bad seasons where they're really low and surviving relegation, and somehow they manage to get the right points. But it's I think there's some serious dyslexia within that Stade Francais team. They just they're not reading their game the right way. Something's going wrong.
Is it too much Capri Sun? Is it a sugar imbalance?
Do you get that over there? Do you?
Oh yes. Everyone has tried and failed to get the stupid straw into the stupid side of the thing.
I thought you were going to mention Mountain Dew with Seal or something like that. No. It's no. But the fact is that it's.
If there was a Mountain Dew team, I would watch.
Yeah, they would be flying
exciting.
High.
Yes, it would be very exciting. I think there'll be a super rugby team.
Super high rugby. No, but the Racing, Stuart Lancaster for me was the wrong person to bring in, because he openly admitted, he said, I don't know anything about French rugby. Really, I don't speak the language. I'm trying to build on this and see where they're going to go, and hopefully it'll work. And it's been awful. It's been awful. I've never seen Racing in such a low lull, I think, ever.
Yeah.
For them to drop down to 13th position and haven't won since mid-November or something like that is just, it's ridiculous.
So you might have the insight to know this. Is the French governing body likely... So do they care about the success of the big cities? Like, when you look at American sports, when you look at the NFL and the NBA, those leagues care that in the big market cities, there's a successful product that's competitive every year. Does the French Rugby Union care whether or not the Parisian teams are performing, or is it just a completely different ballgame?
You don't get involved in that. It doesn't matter. So the French Rugby Federation, first of all, they will completely support the Ligue Nationale de Rugby and how they finance teams that play in the top 14. They also finance through broadcast, the Pro D2, Federal 1 games as well. They're getting money. They are getting quite a lot of money, and they're in a very healthy place. It's you can be semi-professional, but you can be professional all the way down to Federal 1 and pretty much get a good salary. It's not American salaries. We're not talking about the college money that's sort of dished out. It's there's got quite a fair few zeros more than us over here. But the fact is that there's you can live comfortably over here with with a decent salary if you're playing for Rennes, for example. Gildran was playing the winger who got called up by Galtier at Toulon. Fabulous player. He was playing for Rennes and he was on the SMIC. The SMIC is the lowest. It's the national wage, the average national wage. Which is very low, and it works out to be about, I think it's about 2,800 euros per month. Can you imagine?
Wow.
And that is a monthly wage for someone who gets the SMIC.
You got to cut back on the flat whites.
Flat whites don't exist when you're on that. You get the double espressos, bring it on. But they survive. So they survive all the way down. So it's very healthy. So yeah, it's going back to your question regarding the cities. It doesn't matter if it's Lille, Nantes, Rouen, Dijon, or whatever. The fact is that every team will get the same support. It's good to have rugby in the capital because it generates a buzz. But to be honest with you, David, all of the other stadiums around France get bigger numbers, bums on seats than Stade Francais and Racing. Racing, they've turned their La Paris, the Défense Arena into, you know, a concert hall because they have the bodyguard, which is a party afterwards where people can come onto onto the artificial
Oh,
pitch.
interesting.
And they can, you know, and there's a DJ and there's someone singing, you know, and sort of, you know, and you know, and it's fun. And you could drink and have a beer. People stay there for a few hours after and dance and stuff. So, you know, it's
Interesting.
it's entertainment, you know, in the American way. But Stade Francais, they try and do a little bit like that. But you know, there's if you get 15,000 at Stade Francais, you know, at a home game, that's really good.
Huh. Meanwhile, Bordeaux are killing it putting butts in the seats.
Well, you get 38,000, you know, 34,000, sorry, at Chaban-Delmas. And, you know, in La Rochelle, they've gone past their 103rd successive, you know, sellout.
Right, right.
Well, and that's, again, it's 18,000 fans, you know, and not one single spare seat. And
That's
if it was
incredible.
30,000, you know, they would fill it up as well. And I think that's what you've got to look at. It's you know, and if the two Parisian teams went down and you had two other teams like Grenoble, they're mad about their rugby. You've got Nice who are, you know, investing money.
Right.
You know, everybody loves a little trip down to Nice at the Promenade des Anglais and, you know, jumping in the Met. You imagine going down and, you know, covering a top 14 game down there. I mean, you know, people would die to go down there, you know. I mean, it's a wonderful, you know, weekend, right?
Well, all the way at the other end of the table, of course, it's pretty exciting. As you and I are talking right now, Toulouse, they still have a match to play in just a few hours, but technically, right now, they are in third place behind UBB and Toulon. You know, Bordeaux obviously made it to the final last season. So for you, is it a bigger surprise seeing Toulon this high up on the table? And can either of these teams overcome this Toulouse juggernaut?
I mean, that you know, that's such a big question, and you know, a bad day for Toulouse would be a good day for anybody, but they don't have many bad days, so it's, you know, not good for anyone. You know, it's a conundrum. The thing is that, you know, I'm looking through the Toulouse side and, you know, looking how they're going to try and take on Clermont tonight at Marcel Michelin, and I'm thinking they've got a very strong team that could beat Clermont. But when I look at Clermont, they're going to throw absolutely everything into it. But
This
you
is a
know,
big opportunity for them on the outside of the Six Nations window, and those little pockets in the top 14 are important.
yeah, they call them the doublon. You know, it basically means that there's a crossover. There's like sort of two. There's a double confrontation. So there's the French national team who's preparing at Marcoussis, and at the same time, the top 14 continues. I mean, you know, Toulon are looking good. They showed grit. They were opportunists in their win over Montpellier at Béziers last night. I commentated the game, and you know, I just thought they're taking advantage of absolutely every little mistake that their opponents are making. And it's, you know, and it's a healthy place to be. Afterwards, you've got to cut out your errors if you want to beat Toulouse, because that Toulon team wouldn't be able to deal with Toulouse, especially if Toulouse are in their own backyard. So they've got works to do. They've got to tighten things up. They've got to be more disciplined. I think there was something like 12 penalties for Toulon. You know, you want your penalty count to be, you know, not getting into double figures. So Toulon, but they've got some great players. You know, you know, when you look at Serran, even Bigger came on and, you know, and kicked a drop goal, made a very important, you know, tackle. You know, just to prevent the knock on at the end that gave them the scrum that finished the match. You know, all of these players are playing important roles. It depends on how they can raise their game against the big boys, and the big boys are Toulouse. Regarding UBB, wonderful team. They didn't have a B team. They didn't have a bench. And if you haven't got a bench against Toulouse that's 5-star, I mean, you're buggered.
Yep.
And it's, you know, it's not rocket science. We saw that down in Marseille. It was a game too many for UBB, and you know,
So
when you,
I'm a Bordeaux supporter, and but even I called that one. I was like, okay, they should be happy to be here, but this might be a butt kicking, and it turned out that way.
it was, and it's such a shame because they had a wonderful season. They played some fabulous rugby, but you know that you can't bring those players off the bench and expect them to match up with Miafu, with Dupont, and you know, and Ramos and Gelon, all these Roumat. They're all clinically precise in the preparation, dealing with every situation. It's just a well-oiled machine that sort of, you know, knows how to function. if, even in disarray, they function so smoothly, and that's what makes them so special. So
it is one of the things that makes them so fun to watch too. Like they're dominant teams like Leinster, who I inherently dislike watching. I don't, something about it just turns me off. Toulouse, it's the opposite. They're as dominant, and yet I love everything they do.
And I've been commentating them, pretty much every weekend, and I'm just trying to find flaws sometimes. Where are the flaws in this Toulouse side? But where do you find flaws against top teams? On the international stage, in the league, in the domestic leagues. How do you find those flaws? For me, you can't focus too much on the opposition. You've got to just make sure that you don't make your mistakes in your game, but you've also got to go in really quick. Speed and accuracy, precision. These are the three elements that will enable you to actually deal with a team that may have a better, bunch of stats. The data is like sort of, up there. They're the team to beat. You've got to, bring those three together. And, and there's also a little, a bit of the old X factor that everything all about, David, because you've got that like sort of, extra je ne sais pas quoi. And, it enables you to sort of, just pull the rabbit out of the hat.
Well, we've mentioned his name a couple times, and if for no other reason, to give myself an excuse to put his face front and center on the slide for the YouTube video, the question has been on everyone's lips and all over social media: is Antoine Dupont the best rugby player in the world right now?
Yes, I mean there's just nothing that can stop him from doing what he does. Were
you shocked by his transformation in the sevens? Like, were you shocked how quickly he just adapted and took it over? Like, most people thought, oh, he can't do that. Or were you like, yeah, that's Antoine. That's what he does.
I don't know. I mean, he's a well choreographed dancer, following celebrations, with the sevens team after the Olympics with his team. I'm not shocked. I think that, when you've got that DNA, that talent of and also that hunger of trying to reach the top of your game, and you're not throwing the line too far away from what you're doing. The sky's the limit, and he knows exactly what he's capable of doing. He keeps himself healthy, fit, but also astute regarding changes. He's got a good rugby brain because he's always learning and he's always understanding the game, but he also knows what he's capable of doing. And I think that when you believe in yourself to that extent, you can make those ridiculously cool offloads, the round the back passes, the little kicks. You can afford to do it because practice makes perfect. I'm a Welshman, but I'll tip my cap to an Englishman for once. But Johnny Wilkinson's meticulous kicking ability was nothing short of extraordinary. But all hard work comes from repetition and going through the same thing a million times and understanding what kind of situations you can face in that situation, and trying to deal with how and what obstacles you could have. And you tick all of those boxes, and he probably added a few things like, oh, what happened is they heard a buffalo, from Montana coming, his way. He probably also pretended and went through that, like, sort of, in his head as he was kicking a drop goal as well. Do you get my drift? These guys, they are just absolute machines. And Antoine Dupont falls into that category. He doesn't do all of this, the yoga like Johnny Wilkinson, but my, oh my, he is like sort of, looked, observed, studied, and he's got himself, he's in the perfect place to understand exactly where he wants to be, because he is the best rugby player in the world today, and we're very proud to have him in the top 14. I think that one day he's going to move on and go elsewhere, whether it's Super Rugby or, to England.
Or to the New England Free Jacks. There, see,
for example, that would be such a mental move. It wouldn't surprise me. But he'd also do a Louis Rees-Zammit and head over to the NFL.
He might.
It's anything's possible. Do you know what I mean?
You know what? I would put him in an actual game day squad instead of just a practice squad too. Like, if he picks that, that's what he's going to do. It's just one of those things.
It's just so good. I mean, he can dance with the stars. He really can.
Well, my timer says 5 seconds, so I have to skip. I was going to ask for some
No,
standout
carry on.
players.
David, listen, this is a bonus for you guys, so appreciate it, okay?
Okay, I had the one more question I couldn't sandwich in. Other players, because Antoine Dupont takes up so much what they used to call column inches, and the time we spent talking about it. But there's other players who are sparkling in the top 14 this year. Who are some players who've stood out for you? Maybe some new faces that, if this was exactly a year ago, we wouldn't have been talking about.
A year ago, okay. Um, Clément Verger for Toulouse. Fabulous player. You have to pick out someone from Toulouse, but Verger has been outstanding. There's also Castro Ferreira, Matis Castro Ferreira. These are guys are like, they're big forwards, so they're big chunks, but they're also very astute and hardworking, and you learn from the best when you're at Toulouse, and you don't get a chance to shine until you actually get yourself, into the squad because of injury or because of, a Rugby World Cup or something like that. So you are, you're sparsely asked to come in. So the moment that you do get the chance to go in, that there's 4 guys in front of you who could potentially sort of, who've got a better chance of getting picked. What do? You step up your game. These guys are looking good. Clément Verger doesn't just carry the ball well. I think that his field position and understanding of where to go. Sometimes forwards get lost in the midfield, especially sort of, with kicking rules and 10 meters and everything. So, the ping pong battle of, some players, they just don't know where to go and where to position themselves. Some have just got a natural instinct. Verger is looking like the real solid product who's going to get himself very much, into that second row for the French team in the near future. It might not happen, in the next, he'll probably get called up this summer and sort of, play. He might be on the bench. He might get a chance to shine for a few more minutes, but he's a wonderful player. Very.
I mean, there could be shakeups because I'm hearing all the Galtier stuff and the expectations on the Six Nations. More to be seen, I suppose. Robbie, my friend, this has been great. I have to let you go, but before I do want to nail down your predictions. Will this year's final be a repeat of last year? What teams might bump off UBB or Toulouse on their way to another final?
Okay, so the top cattles, we got a Leon, remember? I'm going to give you some light for a sec. Well, I have light in here.
Oh, wow. The command you have over these things.
Listen, we're going to Lyon. I'm going to throw it out there because one of my favorite players at the moment is David Niniashvili.
Yeah.
I can't stop watching what he does for Lyon and for the Georgian national team, the Lelos. He's incredible, absolutely incredible. Not just a wonderful athlete, but he is just... He's the natural number 15, the fullback who literally looks up. His footwork is sensational. He dances around the pitch, sees the mismatch, slices and scythes through defenses, and then offloads. Just like someone who's been born in Wellington, next door to the great John Olomu. It's just it's
Lyon
ridiculous.
are only at 7-7 right now, and they're the only team with 2 draws. But you're seeing a resurgence in this last final 10-game push.
Karim Ghazal has come in. He's unbeaten in 5, so 2 draws. But the fact is they haven't lost in 5 games now. If you actually look at where they're going, I'm just looking that they've got great players in this squad, really good players, and they're in a very good place. If they can get themselves to the playoffs and to the semi-finals, then they've got a chance of shining. They've got a chance of shining.
And now I have a reason to watch them the rest of the year. This is one of the things I love so much about talking to you. I get the super gems on the inside. I'm like, oh, Leo. They would have completely escaped my radar. I love this.
There we go.
I do have to ask, who is winning it all this year? Is it going to be Toulouse again? And might they even win a double?
I don't know. I mean, I don't.
You might not be supposed to answer this because of your role. You might not.
No, I don't. I can answer the way that I want, David. It's really not a problem. I don't know. You would logically put Toulouse down at the top of your list of the team that would actually win. something's going to happen this season. We'll talk about it after, when we catch up. Maybe after the final or when we do a review or whatever.
Yeah.
In June or July. But I don't know. There's going to be some kind of an upset, and there's going to be something that sort of shakes up Toulouse. Just for your information, Toulouse may have to pay a hefty amount of money to Perpignan because of the Melvin Jaminet debacle.
Oh, okay.
And they might lose a lot of money because they've been asked to make their payments. I mean, $500,000 or something like that. It could be a bit of a slap in the face. I don't know how that would affect them, but all you need is a couple of key injuries for Toulouse. Imagine Dupont getting injured going into the Top 14 final. Would that shake things up for you? Would you take away Toulouse as being the team that would they'd probably fight and win it for him, for crying out loud. So I'm talking nonsense. But, I don't know. If you've got a handful of players who are injured, I don't know, you could put your money on any team if they've got a good competitive 15 plus a good bench.
I mean, Piato Movaca, he's almost always my player of the top 14, where I feel like that guy could legitimately play any position on the entire field and be better than most of the people he's going to face up against.
Yeah.
There's something magical about him.
No, he's got the X factor, and he's hungry, and he's not afraid of putting his body on the line. It's just he's a wonderful player. I don't know, you can when I look through this this team for tonight, and there's quality everywhere. I find it difficult to not put Toulouse and pencil them in prematurely as winners of the Top 14. But I would like another team to beat them, because when you've got one team who get used to winning year in, year out, it doesn't get interesting, and the league doesn't have that extra bit of shine that we love to have in France.
Literally my final question. You spelled it out once again. Do you prefer it when we have a legit dynasty, like we're looking at with Toulouse right now, or do you like it when it's wide open, when the champion changes from year to year and is one better for fans of this competition?
Listen, the Top 14, has been super special and important to me over, the past 15 years. I'm connected to it, my soul is connected to the Top 14. I love it so much. I love to see teams come in and sort of, upset the apple cart. I just find that it changes things. It makes it different. We need to have new teams. We need shake-ups. We can't just have, dictatorship in the Top 14. We need teams to come in and sort of, shake it around. I wasn't going to make any reference to the United States of America or any kind like that. But, we definitely need a little bit of a shake-up.
Robbie Nock, my friend, and the soothing sound of the Top 14. It is so great to see your face and check in. I really hope you enjoy the rest of the season. Who are you picking tonight? There's one game left this round.
I'll pick Clermont to win, bonus point for Toulouse, and all three top teams on the same number of points tonight. Is it 52, I think?
That would be a lock. Wow.
Log jam, bring it on.
I love it. And there's 50 points up in the air.
There'll be 45 after tonight.
Exactly. Robbie, my friend, thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate it. You are the best. Like you said, maybe we'll check in after the conclusion to all this madness. It's going to be an incredible next 6 months in rugby. Thank you again. Cheers. Talk to you soon. And be well.
Cheers. Cheers, David. Thank you, guys. See you soon. Bye.
It gives me great pleasure to be here today.
No, it doesn't.